So whatever we did last time, I didn't get the chance to look at that. I did prepare the exercise for today, so we have that. I also will give you the update of the project. Okay, and let me see if I need to give more permissions to talk to anyone. Here you are. But again, with apologies, I have to rely on you. So last time we had these links, wonderful links about hacking AI, and let us start right here. But I have not had the chance to really look at it. That's something very interesting, community of hackers, and that's what they did. But I am not qualified to even talk about this. So all of these links will have to wait until next time, unless you guys volunteer, and some of you have actually gone there. So maybe you can tell us about this. Is that okay? No, it seems like it's not okay. Nobody wants to volunteer. All right, so let's do this. You can talk to everybody, you can chat here, you can speak up anytime. But if that is the case, then hacking is a very interesting enterprise, and we will do more of it next time. Meanwhile, I want to do two things. I want to give you another exercise for today, and also my project's update, except that I will start with my project's update. So what happened is that these projects are very interesting, and they're going ahead, and we're growing as a startup. So let me show you one thing, and then another thing, and so on. So one thing is that that startup is the application is right here. That's the application. And we have a wonderful feature which we developed. We started developing it for a completely different purpose. We said every lawyer, every attorney who uses the system has maybe a paralegal and maybe an investigator working with them on a particular case. So it would be nice if he could delegate, and for free, the attorney can delegate access to his stuff to another person. And it turns out that, yes, that was useful, and there is a certain paralegal who is a paralegal for everybody. So she works for multiple people, and we included that. But then what happened is a completely different story. All of the clients for whom something doesn't work, I invite them to make me their own paralegal, and they do. That's my view into what they do, and some of the things they do are very interesting because they have unusual formats, but mostly they are impressed by ChatGPT right here. So let's say they are looking at a specific case. That's the case. That's the only document that there is on that case. Let's look at that. Yeah, that is a document. But what they can do, of course, is go to Casify AI and build an index. That means send all these documents to our, as you may remember, our proprietary or our private index that's a pine cone, and keep it all under its own namespace. Now, right here you see 559. That is a unique number. That is the case name, and that is how I stored in Casify. Now, I probably showed you that I have converted it to a more enterprise setup, and that's where most of your work as AI add-on, as AI value add stuff resides. Meaning that under 559, there should be one document stored. Let me show you where it is. Now, one way where I can show it is under Lambda. because I converted all of that to lambda. And if I look for lambda, I should be able to find it. It's an AI described index. So I should be able to test it right here. There you are. And it doesn't require any parameters because that's a whole index with everything that's there. So let's run it. It runs, as you can see, it runs in lambda. The details would give me something after they run. Now you saw the number right here. The number was 559. Let's look for 559. 559. Do you see 559? 559. So yeah, there it is. It says 16 documents. That's a bit too much. Oh, 16 little pieces of documents. So if we look at the document back, let's go back to the files. Well, that's a pretty long document, right? So internally, we broke down into pieces, paragraph, and we had to solve a few other problems. For example, here, there's, well, that's OCR, so you did OCR on the fly. That is not a new line, so by default, it doesn't break it. It's just all individual pieces. So we had to add breaking it into individual paragraphs, and I guess there are 16 paragraphs. With that, we see that it's ready to talk to us. So let's say who they have used. And I don't remember what is the right term, but it finds that the accused party is the minor Justice Cardon. It must be the name. Tell me more about Justice Cardon. Okay, I guess it worked, and it thought for a while, and it told me quite a lot. Now, that is amazing. Most of the people would agree that it is amazing, and it was amazing and miraculous just at the beginning of the year when ChatGPT started its life. Now we're living in this magic world, and we're seeing news every time. Okay, so that's not enough. To make it real, to make it production, we go into Lambda. Beyond that, Lambda is something that is internal. I need a gateway. So therefore, where is my gateway? That's an API gateway. And here we started doing what we were supposed to be doing, build different APIs so that we can use them internally. And we're breaking the system into individual APIs so that we don't ever redo, God forbid, the same job again and again. No, instead, you need something that's encoded as an API. That's Casify AI, that's right here. And I learned how to do this, how to build those APIs. That would be describe index, the same thing. And that's how you would question this query so you can test it. No parameters are needed, so you can test it right away. There you are. Now it woke up. Somehow it's probably awake because it's now running much faster. Well, that is already an enterprise version of that. And the amazing thing is that that's getting quite famous. Let me show you how famous. First of all, let me become myself, not Rob Gorman, but myself, my own workspace. And I'm an administrator as myself, so I can look at what the usage is. And yes, the usage is growing. So we built it as an enterprise enterprise strength. So it's all the right best practices, which I am teaching myself. So it's not a big deal. Now I'm getting the chance to do it right. But you may notice not only that grows, the users, those users, they grow. And an interesting thing happens since it is so amazing. So we're getting quite famous. I meet lawyers for a different reason, and they say, "Oh, Casify, I heard about Casify. They're doing amazing things." Of course, that's nice. So that gave me an idea. And here I know that I'm talking to a captive audience. It's not nice to just tell you what I want to tell you. Okay, thank you. Now, anybody who wants to talk, just come and talk. There you are. But before I get interrupted, I'll tell you that an idea came to me that so I'm doing this for Casify. I'm doing this architecture and AI. But isn't that something that many other people need? I shared this idea with a friend, and he said, "Yeah, exactly. That is called." He said, "It's called Startup Studio, I think." Let me show you. Hey, he said that is who is doing things. That's somebody who provides shovels, as they say, when people dig for gold, then some people find gold and some people don't. But those people who provide them with shovels and spades to dig, they always gain and they are always needed. So therefore, I wrote down what my company Skya should be providing. And it turned out we're providing a lot of things. So he said that's not incubator. It's not that. No, it's a studio because other startups, they come to us, and we as a studio provide them with, first of all, technical assistance with the architecture and with AI. And then they often miss a lot of simple but important things. For example, Zendesk. I had to set up a Zendesk. Well, when I do this, does it make sense for them to come up and set their own, or does it make sense for me as a Skya to get a special deal from Zendesk and then set it up for other startups? Well, of course, it's the second. The other thing is the Amazon, for example. Okay, they may have a need for Amazon account, but now they are all faced with how they do it. I have no idea. And if you give them the key, you make it even worse because they just take those keys away. No, so it turns out I was in touch with Amazon and they told me, Mark, what you need to do is set up the organization. Okay, that's what you need to do. And under organization, you'll have multiple clients, multiple departments. That is what happened to me. I mean, because my project, they were doing essentially the same thing for different startups who get in touch. That is what happened. All right. So I showed you that, and we're still working on scaling this up because we built a complete Terraform build out start for the whole Casify. So right now there are two Casifys. One is the new testing environment where we stress tested with 100 users, simultaneous users, and we're never close to that, but we will be. And another environment is our regular environment. That's what I was showing you. So that's always a must. That's a need for any kind of growing, and that's what I'm doing. Now, that was under my project's update. So and the second thing is that this news I promised you, and I'll deliver, but a week from now. Right now, we can go and do a little lab. So let's do this. That is the link. So if I click on that link, you'll get that lab. Here it is. So what I'm giving you is that link. Here you are. I'm going to the chat. And that's for you to do the exercise. How do you do the exercise? Okay, Lawrence, we use Loadster. That is Loadster. And I think I have the test report here open. Yeah, that's Loadster, and that is us testing it. By default, you get 25 users, but we ran it with up to 100. And that is where we discovered that our database, and we use RDS. So that's where it is maxed out. But even if we ever come to 100 simultaneous users, we can increase the size of that particular RDS and we'll be okay. And then we'll be optimizing the queries and all of that. But that was interesting that all of that comes together. If you're building something that includes AI and is growing, that is what happens. I hope that answers your question, right? Back to chat. Yes, yes. So lots of fun. But here we are, and maybe I put this chat to the left so that I see it and don't close it, but continue with your exercise. So if you want to do it, you will click on download the raw file. Here I am downloading the raw file. It's called Transforming IPYNB. And then I'm uploading it into Colab. Colab is like this, Colab. Colabresearch.google. I'm canceling this out, but you can find it here. That link is here. So do this in Colab and that link will take you there. So once you're in Colab, you do file, upload notebook. And I dropped it into download. So right here, it uploads. As you may remember, when you run this, you will have to install the missing packages and you will have to take my code, which is getting the open API key out of the right place, .env file, but we will get it straight from OpenAI. So for that, I go to platform OpenAI, and then I go to view my API keys, and I create a key for now for August 25. And that's when I can copy it. So I go here and I do the necessary modifications. I set up the key here. Okay. That's the key. And I'm giving that to you as well, chat. Addressing it to everybody. So now that you will have the key also. So if you want to run it with me like this, You are here, you give it the key, and you take that out because that's how you would get it in my class. But outside of it, that's what you do. You just set the key. From here on, it will run. One thing that you will need is import and install this Open API. So here we'll say exclamation point pip install Open API. Okay, while it's running, I'm giving you this additional line. Putting it on the chat here. Right? That's what you need to do. So if you have a question, please ask this question with your voice or here in the chat. But after it's done, and you see that it is done here, then you can run. So what this will do is all kinds of standard things, the standard things that are LLM, large language models. But honestly, still, as of today, I'm only talking about ChatGPT. And Andrew Ng, in his course, from which that's coming, he also talks about LLM, but in truth, he means ChatGPT. And the code itself addresses to ChatGPT, and you can see it here because we do import OpenAI. That's the ChatGPT interface. And we give it the function, and then we're going to do things like translations. So if that is what you do usually, either with Google Translate or with ChatGPT, just yes and translate it. But what I'm showing to you is a bit more professional. It's part of any application. So you need to grab a little helper function. Doesn't matter how it's written. What's important is that it works. You say get completion, you will have to provide the prompt, and that's all. There is also a chance for you to change the model, but we will not. So I'll just giving you the prompt. So, okay, I'm going on, ingesting this function. And the first thing that I'm going to do is translate. So prompt, translate the following English to Spanish. And then you also give the text. So that would work right away. I'll run it. Hola, me gustaría pedir una licuadora. What is licuadora? A blender. All right. So that's how it works. But I really want to clean it up because now we have the results. I want to run it again now and start from nowhere, from scratch. So what I want to do is restart. Not sure how do I clean it. All right, I won't clean it. We will have the results here because I ran it already once. And we will also, thank you, Luis. Gracias. All right, it's a pleasure. Okay, now prompt. Tell me which language is this? Combien coûte la lampadaire? What language is it, right? We want to know. Now, let's run it. Tell me what language it is. That sentence is in French. All right, great. Let's continue. Translate the following text to Spanish in both the formal and informal forms. And you can do it too. So let's run that. Le gustaría pedir una almohada. Una almohada, that's formal. And informal, te gustaría pedir una almohada, because te is two, it's you, very informal, between friends. And I personally know that it's getting into much more common use. Like I meet a person on the street in Houston, Texas, it's always two, it's not usted, right? Luis, you would agree? Lawrence, we're talking French here, right? Okay, cool. Well, you can run it, but I have a little bit more for us to play with, and that is a more involved task. So let's look at what we're doing here. We're imagining that we are in charge of IT at a large multinational commerce company, and these users will come from many different places and many different languages. So this is a translation of what they want from us. And how are we going to do this? So it seems like we're dealing with a lot of requests. Let's look at the requests. And we combine all the requests in an array. So, okay, so it's an array, a Python array. And now I can look through that array, and for each question, I can do something. Of course, that shows off the capability of ChatGPT, but also our ability to script that. So we're going in a loop. And Python is a special language where spaces mean something, and they are here instead of parentheses. So many people like to pick up and they like to say, no, I don't like that language. I like a language which doesn't depend upon spaces. Okay, so that's a popular point of view, but Python being the world's most used language kind of ignores that. So you're always free to pick up and define. What do we do in the loop? We're saying, tell me what language this is, and then you give it user message. That's what we will give. Our issue here, goes through the loop in the user messages array. So go through all of them, and then that is what I'm asking given that particular issue. Then I'm saying, show me the language and do something like translate it into English. Okay, that is, already scripting. So let's run. You see, yes, it goes in a loop, and it is a beginning. The way I personally use it is many of these examples are great in the sense that they show the best practice, and you can borrow from them. To me, it's like a manual on programmer encyclopedia, perhaps. Now, of course, today you also have ChatGPT, and that's a compete. But since we're right here, let's pause right here. Let's talk about ChatGPT, right? Of course, we all know it's this wonderful magic, but the more and more I see that the ChatGPT is not going to kill us. That is a popular thing among my friends who will say, oh, before we do this, it will kill us all, but let's continue. And no, it's not killing us. Instead, we are getting more and more cooperation. That at least is my take on it. And to prove that, and we'll continue here, but to prove that, I'll show you the state of Moses AI. Moses AI is my application that's based on the text of the Talmud, on the summaries. So the summaries are right here. There are about 2,700 of them. And that's what I use to train ChatGPT. So the same architecture. You take any text, you break it into paragraphs. In this case, I found out that it's much better not to break it into paragraphs because each page is self-contained. And so you take each page and send it to Pinecone. In Pinecone, you first send the thing to the query engine, and then it comes back with the right relevant pages, let's say 5 or 10, and then you give it to the query. So what I found is that that being trained on that data is better than just ChatGPT. It does matter where you take the data, and ChatGPT is trained on all of the possible sources, whereas that represents one. So let's say, how much do I need turmeric? That's a very generic question, but it's sent in the query to very specific data set. So let's see what it will come up with. Well, it says, according to Kiddushin 11, that's exactly where we are. I didn't plan that, it just came out this way. So it knows which page, and on that page, it says you only need a minimum coin, 5 cents. Okay, but you may need more money later on, and we're not even talking about the wedding, but you see that it's going into exactly the source I am interested in, because I'm asking Moses. Now, if I took that question, and if I went to ChatGPT with that question, I would get a completely different answer, right? Very practical answer, like I can open a wedding anniversary, wedding studio, so to say. But I was not interested in that. I wanted to know from that point of view, and it got me exactly that. That is what I see, right? So we can go back to where we're doing it, and we see that it does matter how you use ChatGPT. Okay, it's a very smart AI, but think of a human. You have a very smart human, but you can pose him a question in very different ways. The result will be very different. All right, we're doing still the lab, and we showed how you can become from here, it comes to you that you probably should automate your Zendesk and do something with that in a smarter way. In any case, let's continue. We ran that. Now we want to change the tone of answers. We can do very formal or very informal. In this case, dude, this is Joe. Just check this spec. And it translates from informal to formal. The next possible is translate between different formats. Go from the following dictionary from JSON to HTML. So that's yes, Swapna, 1 second, but before, let me finish that. Okay, different formats for the programs. Up until now, it was different formats to different people, informal people. Now we're going very in a different direction. We're becoming formal, and we want specific formats, specific coding formats. Okay, so in case while we're waiting for the results, that's my email. So if anybody wants to ask their questions, you can just write to my email. Now, what happened here is we wanted to convert from HTML to JSON, and there you are. That was here's the HTML. That will be JSON. Now, I think he also shows you a Python function that allows you to show the HTML output. So I could copy that and save it in a separate place and open it, but he gives us a Python way to display HTML. So here it is. He says this is a Python way to display HTML, but maybe I don't quite believe it. Maybe I want to copy that. Let's try that. It doesn't take long. That's the complete text. And what's at the end? Nothing at the end. So I should be able to say some vi sample.html and paste all this output. And after that, I should be able to open something. Indian, correct. Thank you very much. It worked exactly as promised. All right, let's close that here. Let's continue. What else do we want to do as an exercise in this? Spell check and grammar check. And here's my text. Some kind of story. But then I want to proofread and correct. So let's do that. Let's take the text and in a loop, use your text. And then not only you check it, but it suggests how it should be. So that's a great thing for the teacher. A teacher of English as a second language would have his or her work automated, and no problem. All right, that is the exercise for today. Now let's summarize where we are. We are here. We're doing what I call advances in AI, and I'll give you that link just in case you came later. So here's that link of what we're doing. It's August 25, and I apologize for not having prepared that, and nobody volunteered. I'll do it next week. And then we went to Colab, and in Colab we did that particular exercise, which I honestly find the most interesting and the greatest courses of Android. But I will show you my own collection of courses. So for that, I have a place. These are my guys who work with me, and I'm kind of training them. You see, it's only the beginning, doesn't work all that well, but that shows you all the courses. That is the course on prompt engineering, and that's where I'm taking the exercises that I'm giving to you guys. And that is the link to our lab here. No, that is his course. That's our lab adjusted. That is another of his courses. That's the link. That's also our lab adjusted. And as you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, already 6 courses. And that's an amazing amount of courses that Andrew A has put out in a short amount of time. I think it's 1 a week or 1 every 2 weeks. They're all very useful, and you can find him. It's Learn Deep Learning AI. That's where you will find all of them. And most of them at the very end introduce yet another component, yet another best practice. For example, you can find how do you glue your elements together with LangChain, how you add the database, and Swapna wants that link. Well, the Excel is not open, and I didn't even want it open. That's all right. But I will give you these. I'm logging in there because you need a free account. That's it. That's what you really need. And I'm pasting it here for everybody to use. That's really is all you need. I'm clicking on that, and you will see that that is a specific course. But if you take that out, if you take that particular course out, then you end up being at deep learning AI short courses. Really short, takes you about a couple hours to run through that, but it's not complete. I mean, that's not what you should do. Don't do 2 hours, do 20 hours, because these are very useful, and knowing that will make you a very knowledgeable person. So I'm giving you really that. Okay, and I do recommend, and I haven't even followed my recommendations. I'm not done with all the courses, but I do recommend myself and you guys that you should be done with all of the courses. So that is pretty much all that I wanted to cover today. I will do this. I will stop sharing and I will stop talking. Now, Lawrence says that he thinks voice is not enabled. Yes, maybe, but not for me. I mean, you hear me, right? Yeah, I would think so. Because otherwise you would tell me a long, long time ago. All right. So guys, thank you very much for coming. And I wish my email, here it is. Here's my email. And I wish everybody a very good weekend and a very good week and a very good month and a very good year. Okay. More than that, I'm not going. 1 year is enough. Yes. Play with these. That's my hero, Jeff Dean of Google. He says, anything you see, try to run it. Okay, the .env is another approach. You can do two things. One thing is what I did. I just pasted the key there. But that's very dangerous. If I then take that code and commit it back to the repository, I will get an immediate message. The repository being GitHub, owned by Microsoft, and in conjunction with OpenAI, they will catch it the 1 second. So that's not the good way. The good way is to do the environment, and that's shown in Andrew's first course. He says that's how you should do it, and he explains, he gives you the code, and that's the standard. As it turns out, that way of doing things right here is a standard best practice in Python. So you install additional component .env, and that .env allows you to find .env hidden file on your system and then use everything. That way you don't commit it to the repository, you don't show it to everybody. The reason I show it to everybody is because I'm nice and because I will disable this key. Was that your question? I hope I answered your question. All right. Wonderful. You can go through all of that learning yourself, ask me questions, and enjoy that. All right. So everybody be well, and I'm saying goodbye now.